Conference previews continue in college footballs. The season starts Saturday with just 2 games, but it's Pac-12 now, Teddy. Rob Veno.
Absolutely. And we've already done a number of previews with Rob Veno. We've done the SEC, we've done the ACC, we've done the Big Ten. You can go back in the archives and check those out. They're all excellent short takes on these conferences. So let's bring in Rob Veno one more time. We'll talk some Pac-12 today. Rob, I want to get started talking about the Oregon Ducks, a team, very briefly. I know that you don't have a ton of notes on Oregon, but to me, Oregon stands out as a program that looks pointed in the wrong direction. 3 head coaches over the last 3 years.
Yeah, the good news for them, Teddy, is that they promoted from within Mario Cristobal, the head coach, who was obviously a real up-and-comer until Florida International inexplicably canned him. I think even bigger news for Oregon is the fact that they get to keep defensive coordinator Jim Leavitt around. That was huge for them last year. They come back with a lot of players who were injured last season. Obviously, Justin Herbert, the key to everything. When he played, they were great. So, I don't know that I can be as down on them as maybe some people are, but we'll see. Obviously, last year they had a big second half run, wound up losing the bowl game. We'll see how they hit this season running. But I do think they've got talent in a lot of places, defensive coordinator in place, and Cristobal at head coach. I don't mind that at all.
We're talking here with Rob Veno, doing a deep dive into the Pac-12. And Rob, you highlighted 3 teams. The first of the 3 is Stanford. And you say this Cardinal team, it was an under team last year, it's been an under team throughout the David Shaw era, might be an over team this year, despite the presence of future NFL prospect Bobby Okereke at linebacker for Stanford. You say the Cardinal, who had 3 different games last year, stay under by, I think, 2 points or less, real tight to the number, which gave them an under season. In the end, you say, watch out for the Cardinal. They're going to be a high-scoring team, and their defense not going to be as good in 2018.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, it's very rare that we start an analysis by saying Stanford's offense is going to be explosive, but that's the case here, Teddy. Remember, the quarterback play was so miserable up until they got KJ Costello in there, and KJ Costello solved a lot of their quarterback issues, way more consistent than Keller Chris was. Before I get to Bryce Love, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell anybody how great Bryce Love is, but the wide receiving core here really at the end of last season came on like crazy. The size at the receiver position really stuck out at the end of last year. Stanford was making bigger plays. You got 6'3" and 6'2" on the outside. You've got 6'7" and 6'5" at tight end. JJ Arcega-Whiteside, a kid who, although he's 6'3", makes explosive plays, 16.3 yards a catch. Tight end Caden Smith, 18 yards per catch. I like this from newly promoted offensive coordinator Tavita Pritchard, who said that, they're not going to change David Shaw's offense. That's not going to happen. However, he's going to look to put his own stamp on it with a little bit more passing and a little bit more vertical downfield stuff because they have those options available. Now, they haven't had them in the past. I like the offense, much like when we talked about Georgia in the SEC. Offense up, defense down a little bit. That seems to be the same with Stanford. The defensive line is probably the place that's biggest hit. Quarterback sacks went down from 34 to 17 last year, and the defensive line is less talented this year. So I don't know if they'll be able to pressure like they have in years past. 8 of those 13 games they played last year scored 56 points or more. Like you said, they're 6-7 over under last year against the number, but 3-1 with one push at the end in their last 5 games. I think they continue that. I like Stanford over the total. We see week 1 bet down from 53 to 49.5. Wouldn't be surprised if that game winds up going over as well.
Cal, another team that you had spotlighted here, and I was just reading last night, Justin Wilcox, their head coach, has named Ross Bowers to the surprise of no one. He's won the QB job, but the number 2 QB, Brandon McElwain, has been seeing time in drives with Bowers, meaning giving them a second option at the QB position, even during a same drive, not when some guy gets hurt. One the better thrower, one the better runner. What do you see for Justin Wilcox and the Cal Bears this year? You got a buy sign on this team.
Yeah, I do, Teddy, because if you look at last year, They were very inexplosive offensively. They had to rely on running the football with Patrick Laird. Even though opposing defenses knew that, Patrick Laird went out and ran for 5.9 yards per carry. This season, all 5 offensive linemen return. Laird will be the stud running back. The receivers, they lost a couple of guys to transfer, which does hurt. Demetrius Robinson to Georgia, Melky Stovall. They're 2 real playmakers to Arizona Western. But neither of those guys played last year. 7 total catches combined. The 3 guys they have coming back this year, especially Wharton and Noah, 123 receptions combined. That's good for 3rd returning tandem in the nation. Like the offense quite a bit here. I think it'll be a little bit more explosive. Remember Bo Baldwin, the OC from Eastern Washington. He's looking to get some more explosiveness into that offense. Defensively, it's Justin Wilcox, and it's his 2nd season as defensive coordinator. They can't help but be better in my estimation. They were very scrappy last year, be a little bit better this year. They were 8-4 against the total last season. When they were very predictable and in first year of systems, a little bit more experience, a little bit more familiarity. If they can't go 7-5 and be a winning point spread team, Teddy, then something's wrong here. I think they'll do that. The schedule is pretty good for them as far as covering point spreads are concerned. They'll be an underdog in plenty of situations, which is where I think they'll be best. I like Cal as a point spread team this year out of the Pac-12.
We're talking Pac-12 football here with Rob Veno. Let's talk the UCLA Bruins. You talked about first-year coaches just a moment ago with Cal. Break down UCLA in the Chip Kelly era. Lots of hype, not that much production. Mr. Veno, you got 2 minutes.
Going to play them under the win total, Teddy, for the season. 5.5's out there. Play them under 5.5. I think there's a lot of stuff going on here. Not to say that Chip Kelly won't have this team back and rolling with in a very short period of time, but I don't think it'll be this year. You have to transition from Kelly's offense out of Jed Fish's offense. I don't know that there could be 2 more polar opposites at all. You lose 138 pass receptions off of last season, 2,148 yards, 21 TDs, brand new receiving core, very tough to replace. Got to teach an offensive line, brand new blocking techniques inside Kelly's system. 14 offensive linemen from last year's team are gone. I think that's a tough thing to handle. Obviously, Josh Rosen's gone. The offense, to me, way down here. The defense, 8 of their top 17 players are going to be freshmen or sophomores. Very, very young team. You're going to go to a 3-4 look out of a 4-3. Again, a system change. I just think there's so many negatives for UCLA this year. And then you start looking at their schedule, Teddy. It's, for lack of a better term, it's ass backwards. You would want to play the weak teams at home if you're UCLA. Instead, they get all the strongest teams from the Pac-12 coming to them. Probably going to lose a majority of those games. And all the weaker teams, where the weaker teams would be stronger on their home field, that's where UCLA has to go. Don't think the schedule maker did them any favors. To me, 5.5 wins looks too big. I'd play them under that total for this season.
Rob Veno, excellent analysis. That, folks, is a breakdown you're not going to find anywhere else. Mr. Veno, thank you so much for joining us. We've got one more Power 5 conference to talk about. We'll do Big 12 preview right here on SportsBit next week. Like the show? Help us keep the lights on. Please make sure to comment, share, and subscribe to all the Sportsbook Review videos. Thanks so much. Best of luck. Enjoy the game.